Welcome everyone to Coaching Conversations Made Easier, AI Tools for Product Leaders. My name is Michael Hirsch. I'm calling in from Seattle, Washington. And if you missed it at the beginning, please go ahead and put in the chat where you are calling in from, where you are in the world right now. And also, I encourage everyone to share LinkedIn profiles if you want to connect with other folks. This is absolutely encouraged and a networking activity. So we don't have a lot of time. I'm going to dive right into this. One thing I will say that I will make sure that the presentation and the demo will be done inside of our 30-minute window, but I'm going to stay online for as long as there are people lingering around asking questions. So if you've got questions, by all means, you're more than welcome to stick around for that. So I will stay on as long as needed to answer everyone's questions. So a few years ago, maybe a few more than a few. So a number of years ago, early on in my product leadership career, I got this feedback from my manager. He said, Michael, I appreciate your personal contributions. You're meeting all of your goals. Awesome, right? But your team is not performing at the same level. And David in particular, fictitious name, I'm hearing a lot of not so great feedback about him recently. What's going on? You need to get this figured out soon. So this was a very significant wake-up moment for me. It was a moment for me when I realized a few hard truths and have really worked ever since that moment to try to encapsulate those and embody those in everyday product leadership that I do. The first hard truth, as a leader, your performance is measured by the performance of your team. What you do as an individual, great, but that's not how you're viewed, and that's not how you're measured. Second hard truth, as a leader, your performance is typically measured by the performance of your worst performing team member. I see. Who is David? David in this context is a product manager on my team, right? So I'm a product leader. I'm managing product managers. David is one of the product managers on my team. And so I'm being measured by the performance of my team, hard truth number one. And really hard truth number two is I'm actually being calibrated to the performance of the worst performer. Look, it's easy to manage high performers, right? You kind of just get back and get out of their way. But that's not what a leader is about. Being a leader is about managing lower performers and managing them up. Hard truth number three, team performance is everything as a product leader. So even though coaching conversations are difficult, they are critical. So all this means if you don't learn and live by these hard truths as a product leader, whether you're a product leader today or aspiring to be a product leader soon, you will never succeed as a product leader without bringing in these hard truths, internalizing them, and acting on them. Fortunately, AI is here to help. And I'm going to go through a demo that's going to cover 3 steps, and we're going to dive right into it right now. We're going to transform some unstructured observations into action plans. We're going to use AI to help handle difficult conversations, and we're going to use AI to help with follow-up and accountability. So let's jump in and do some demos. Before I start, I'm going to share this document. So this is, if you will, imagine you've gotten some unstructured observations and comments about David. In my experience, you never get feedback in an easy or concise or consistent way or consistent timing. It comes in all over the place. It comes in comments in passing. It comes in over email. It comes in during, meeting discussions. It comes in all over the place. And so here, for example, are some different comments that I've received about my fictitious product manager on my team, David, who's doing well, but he's struggling a little. From the engineering lead, he says working with David has been challenging at times. He's eager but doesn't always understand our technical constraints. Yesterday in the sprint planning, he pushed for a feature we clearly explained would take twice as long as he thought. When we pushed back, he got defensive and made some comment about engineers always sandbagging estimates. Okay, that's not good. The meeting went downhill from there. Whew, okay, we got to talk to him about that. Got some feedback from the design team. I have some of my own notes. I was in a stakeholder update meeting and I observed how David handled it. He had all his metrics prepared. Noticed he seemed to shrink a little bit when the CTO started pushing on some technical questions. I've got some feedback from a product director, feedback from a peer product manager, and I've got feedback from a customer success manager. I'm not going to go through and read all of this, but here is unstructured and oftentimes maybe unsolicited, although sometimes solicited, feedback that I'm getting about one of the product managers on my team. So let's switch over to my current AI of preference, Claude AI, and let's do a demo. So I am going to, I've got, the prompts are long, and so I've got them kind of pre-prepared, so I'm going to do some copy and pasting, but I'll definitely share these after. So first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to paste in this prompt, and I am going to grab that PDF that I just showed you with the unstructured comments, and I'm going to drop it in here as well. So I have the following unstructured comments about David as a product manager on my team. Can you read through these and identify patterns of his strengths and also areas for development? Can you give me some suggestions as to how I can most effectively communicate this feedback to him? And finally, can you create some specific, actionable development plans that I can propose to him so he can continue to grow and improve as a product manager? As a product leader, it was always difficult for me to articulate from all this different feedback. I'd get mixed signals. Somebody here noted contradictory indications, and it was always really challenging. So this is going to help us. So let's go ahead and send that off to Claude and have it do a little bit of its thinking. Okay, great. I've reviewed the unstructured observations about David. I can identify some clear patterns and strengths and areas for development. Let me break these down for you. Wonderful. Patterns of strength, communication and documentation, and some example quotes as to kind of where that's referenced. I'll get to what's going on the right here in a second. Close it for now so it's not, well, let it go. Stakeholder management, user-centered thinking, awesome. Areas for development, technical understanding and confidence, handling feedback and criticism, yeah, we mentioned that already. Assertiveness in cross-functional settings. Oh, okay, that's pretty interesting. So how to effectively communicate? Use the situation behavior impact model. Okay, fine. Balance approach, be direct but supportive. Great, this is good advice, but we're going to actually do some role playing in a moment. Ask questions and listen. And now it gave me this actionable development plan. So if we look at this, area one, building technical confidence, and some clear actions that we can take, right? A technical learning path, some structured technical mentorship, right? So I can help him get into a place where he starts to feel a little bit more comfortable technically and doesn't feel as defensive against some of the engineering teams. David, in this example, is fictitious, but is based on one or two product managers in the past that I've managed, and it comes from a marketing background. So he's not very strong technically, but he's great at understanding customers and understanding markets and understanding opportunities and all those other fabulous things. So this is going to be great to help him. Let's see what else. Area two, constructive response to feedback, right? He tends to get defensive, so how can we help him with that? We'll do some feedback reframing exercises, some structured reflection, some peer coaching. Okay, great. These are all good ideas. Cross-functional influence and advocacy. We'll work on some things about influencing strategy development, some negotiation skills, etc. By the way, if I didn't mention it, please go ahead and put questions in the chat. I'll go through and read those at the end, and also at the end, you'll have time to actually ask live questions. Okay, so I've got this, and now I've got this conversation structure. So in just one kind of robust prompt with some unstructured feedback, I now have a lot better clarity and view as to how I'm going to actually help David, right? How am I going to communicate? What are his strengths? What are his areas for development? Okay, so let's go to the next one here, the next prompt I have here, which is this. I'm going to close this so we have more view. Can you help me prepare for and maybe even practice delivering some of the constructive criticism and feedback to David? I'd like to simulate or role play a conversation. Can you please take the role of David and I will be your manager? Okay, great. This is a great way to prepare for what might be a challenging conversation. I'll respond as David might based on the patterns observed in the feedback. Of course, if I had more information, other maybe performance reviews or other information about David that maybe I had shared in the past, that would also add to this simulation and role play. Let's set up the scenario. We're in a private meeting room or an office for a scheduled feedback session. You're David's manager, and I'll respond as David. Whenever you want to step out of the role to discuss the approach or get suggestions, just note that you're stepping out of character or something similar. Go ahead and begin as you would in the actual meeting. So I actually in this prompt have set it up assuming that David thought we were, there it is, copy, coming into a one-on-one meeting. So that's what this prompt is going to say. David, rather than our usual one-on-one meeting and check-in, I wanted to use this opportunity to share with you some feedback that I've received over the last number of weeks to help you both understand where your strengths and areas for development are. Does that sound okay to you? Okay, he's a little nervous. Yeah, sounds good to me. I'm always open to feedback and ways I can improve. Is this coming from the quarterly review process, or is there something specific that prompted this? All right, so let's say something along the lines of this isn't related to anything specific. It's just part of my trying to be a better manager and leader and providing more coaching and feedback to help you develop and grow as a product manager. I'm trying to do this with everyone on the team. This isn't just singling you out. Remember, I said you got to be doing this to everyone all the time if you want to be an effective product leader. One of your primary goals, if not your top goal, should be up leveling your team. So framing this a little bit in the I'm trying to help you, but this is all me trying to help me trying to help myself by being a better leader, may actually deflect a little bit there. So let's go ahead and see how does he respond to that. Hopefully it comforts him a little bit. Okay, good. All right, that makes sense. I appreciate the approach. It's good to have these conversations. He sets pen down and leans forward slightly. What kind of feedback have you been collecting? I'm curious what people are saying. So let me start with the strengths. Areas of feedback that have almost universally been positive. Most of these I think you already know, but it's important to reinforce how others see you and value your work. Communication and transparency. Everybody that works with you always appreciates your high level of communication, your being prepared ahead of time, and your quick response time. Additionally, they appreciate how user and customer focused you are. I tend to think this comes from your marketing, from your experience and background in marketing, but it's incredibly important as a product manager and something that other teams that you've worked with have noted as one of your strengths. And finally, reliability and organization. You're always communicative around deadlines and you're quite organized and run very well structured meetings. I'm going to pause for a moment here and say, while I'm copying and pasting these prompts in, what I would recommend is if you're doing a role play like this, use voice to text, which is kind of how I initially did this, right? And just talk as if you're sitting in front of this product manager and you're giving him, your feedback. So talk naturally, say the things that you feel comfortable saying, right? Don't worry about it being proper English or formal or everything. It needs to be natural. So we're going to say this to David and let's see how AI suspects he's going to respond. Okay, so we've given him some positive feedback. Good. He's kind of opening up a little bit. I do put a lot of effort into keeping everyone informed. And yes, I think my marketing background does help me. I'm glad the meeting preparation is noticed too. I'm guessing there are also some areas where I need to improve. Okay, good. He's somewhat astute. And so I'm going to acknowledge, but again, I'm also going to acknowledge that I'm not doing this to be mean. I'm doing this to help him. The value or the reason I'm trying to be more communicative with feedback and provide more coaching and guidance to help you and the rest of the team develop as product managers is because the more you understand where you can grow, the better you'll become as a product manager. And see, I did this by voice and it came in twice because I repeated it. The better you'll become as a product manager and advance your career. So let me touch on a few areas of development. This is a tricky one, but simply put, I've seen others have, and others have as well. You have a tendency to get defensive with feedback. It seems like perhaps you are taking some of this feedback personally when that's not what it's intended for. So I went right to the harder one, right? The technical understanding, he's not expected to be, he's not an engineer. That's a little easier, I think. But I went right to the tough one, which is you get a little defensive. And how do we work on that? Defensive? I don't think I'm being defensive. I mean, I'm always open to feedback. Kind of an expected response. I just sometimes feel like I need to explain my reasoning. Can you give me a specific example? Because I'm trying to be collaborative, right? This is exactly what, anytime you sort of provide that kind of feedback, usually they come back and say, okay, help me with an example, right? Let me understand this. Great. So I'm going to say, yeah, of course, One example I heard was that some of the folks on the team questioned some of your user research that you were presenting, and you seemed to take the questions as a challenge to the user research as opposed to trying to understand it better. Does that ring a bell? Okay, that meeting with the feature prioritization team. Okay, great. He's a little bit stressed out now. I remember that. I just put so much work into that research. I spoke with over 20 users, analyzed feedback patterns. When they started questioning the methodology, it felt like they weren't respecting all that work or my expertise in understanding what users need. As product managers, hopefully you all can recognize um, we take shots all the time, right? We do requirements reviews with engineering, and they point all the point out all the things we missed or the things we got wrong. We sit down and do messaging briefs or reviews with marketing, and they tell us all the things that we didn't do right. We talk with sales; they tell us all the things the product isn't doing for them. So we take hits all the time, and we have to understand that they feel personal. They feel personal to me, but they're not. So yeah, I remember that. I just put so much work into the research, but I see what you mean. I probably did get a bit intense. It's just frustrating when you believe strongly in something based on evidence. So this is one of the soft skills that I've really worked on a lot with product managers in my career, which is really helping them learn to not take that feedback personally and to sort of spin it as understanding that it's in the spirit of helping and to kind of build from there. Um, so I'm going to acknowledge because again, he's a good person, David, and he means well, right? He's not a bad human being here. Um, and so yeah, I think your passion, enthusiasm, and caring is fantastic, and I don't want you to lose that. But when you start to show that these questions are getting to you, it can make you appear less confident and less credible. And that's the biggest challenge, is like the moment you lose your cool as a product manager, everyone kind of just sort of writes you off at that point and stops listening to you. So I don't want you, David, to appear less credible. How can I help you? He says, okay, I agree. I don't want to come across that way either. I think I may need a moment to process when I get that feeling rising up. I tend to immediately get defensive. Would it help if I try to reframe the questions? And then he puts it back on me. He says, hey, do you have any techniques that you used when you get feedback that feels challenging? Right. So this is all kind of helping me sort of figure out what the conversation is going to be like and how it's going to go. I could definitely go on for this for a while longer, but I'm not going to. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to sort of jump out of this, right? So we started with the unstructured feedback. We got some clear structure, some indications and signals of what strengths, what are areas for development, and some recommendations on how to communicate it. Then we did some role playing about this difficult conversation. And now the last thing I want to do here is I want to try to package this up in a way that I can structure it in a way that I can review with him on our weekly one-on-ones and monthly or quarterly, so that it doesn't just sort of get heard and then lost, but that we actually intentionally, I'm helping him work towards improving. And so this last prompt I want to put in, this has been helpful. Thank you. This is me talking to Claude. No need to respond as David anymore. Can you help me with some way that I can track his progress against all the different areas for development? I don't want to feel like I'm babysitting him, right? I don't want to feel like I'm just sort of all over him, but I want to make sure he's taking time in addition to his day job to thoughtfully work on improving in these areas. Do you have any templates or tricks, or how do you suggest this? So right away now, Claude is creating this separate artifact of a development progress tracker. So let's let Claude finish and then let's take a look at it. And then we could take it as it is. We could modify it from there. I always advise people, never take what AI gives you as 100% complete, because it's not. It'll get you to 80% very, very quickly, but you need to do a little bit of work to make sure that 80 to 100% is done properly. Um, but here we've got a development dashboard. Okay, great. So we got the three focus areas: confidence technically, receiving feedback, cross-functional influence. Maybe we can log some observable behaviors. We can do some quarterly review. So we've got a little bit now of a template that we can use and maybe give to David to track and monitor progress. Not only will it help make sure he's making the progress, but it'll also make him feel that he's actually learning and growing, and that me as a manager, I care about his growth and development as a product manager. And then if later on in one of my reviews, somebody says, hey, David's having some problems, I can say, whoa, hold on. Let me show you what we've talked about. Let me show you the progress we're making. Let me show you how he's improving. Oh, okay, great. I see you're on top of it. And so now me as a product leader, I've established credibility with my peers and my leaders that not only am I aware of my team, but I'm actively working to uplevel them constantly. So here's this self-assessment, manager observation approach, some implementation tips, tons of good information in here. So in about 15 minutes, with all of me talking in between here, we went from unstructured feedback to an actual understanding of strengths and weaknesses, to practicing a hard conversation, and finally to an actual plan that we can use. So demo complete. Let me switch back over to my trusty PowerPoint slide and finish up what we're talking about. Okay, demo time, we finished that. So what are the takeaways here? This is going to look real familiar to my last lightning lesson because I think they're pretty similar if you were in attendance there. First is coaching conversations with actionable feedback are critical, right? They're not just valuable, they're not even important, they are critical, they are vital to the success of the product manager and ultimately to the success of you as a product leader. This is a great task for AI. Recently read and highly recommend a book called Co-Intelligence by Ethan Mollick. He's a professor out of Wharton, University of Pennsylvania. And he talks about kind of three different levels of tasks, just me tasks. Those are things that I'm going to just do. Delegated tasks, those are tasks that I'm going to offload parts of it to AI and then come back and sort of finish up, right? So I'm delegating it to another entity, AI in this situation, and then I'll finish it up. And then lastly are automated tasks, tasks that I will entirely offload to AI. But this is a classic delegated task, very, very important and very, very powerful to use AI to help you with. Proofread before sharing. It'll get you 80% of the way there, not 100%. Garbage in, garbage out, right? Use robust prompts. You notice none of my prompts were very simple. They were explaining and providing context and providing some hints as to how I wanted the response, right? Like I said, I want to understand, some structured way of him working on it, and I want to get some feedback on how I should communicate it. AI is not going to take a product leader's job, but AI plus a product leader is going to take a product leader's job. So as a product manager and as a product leader today, you need to be using AI on a regular basis to make you the most effective and most impactful product leader you can be. Go try it today. One of the things I hope and I love to do on these demos is I try to do something that you can use today. So if you're a product leader and you've got some anecdotal feedback about one of your product managers, type it up, put it into Claude or ChatGPT or your preferred AI LLM and get feedback and start to put it together and schedule that meeting or in your next one-on-one, start to have those conversations. You will be a much better leader for it, and your product managers will be much better for it as well. So quick pitch, my course that I run, finished 3 cohorts of it already. I'll be starting my 4th cohort next week. And my 5th cohort will be coming up in April. It's called Build an AI Confident Product Team. Transform from AI curious to an AI confident product leader in just 3 weeks. The course is normally $7.99. By attending today, there's a promo code Coaching Lightning, which will get you $100 off on that. This QR code will take you right to the sign up page with the promo code attached already. Who's this for? It's for product leaders. It's also for senior level product managers who have aspiration or are very quickly or soon going to be in a product leadership role. When I became a product leader 4 different times at 4 different companies, I started as an individual contributor and then got promoted to a manager of product managers. None of those times did anybody give me any training or any explanation of the difference in the role of a product leader versus a product manager. So if you're thinking that you want to get to be a product leader, start planning for it now because that's how you'll get that role. And visionary startup founders who are classically the sort of first product leader in a company. And as they grow, they're going to be bringing on more support and help. This will also help them. What's included in the course? You'll get 6 interactive live sessions with lots of live demos, just like today, 15 in-depth lessons, 4 projects that we'll do over the course of the 3 weeks to apply your learnings. These are not meant to be additive work. They're meant to be things you can take and apply to your work today. You'll get direct access to me throughout the entire course. You'll get a one-on-one session with me in preparation at the end for your final project. And you can use that time not just for your final project, but to talk about anything product related or not product related. You'll get a course certificate upon completion. What are you going to learn? You're going to learn how to use AI to improve your effectiveness as a product leader. You're going to learn how to go from idea to market validation to functional requirements to a working prototype. Really important for product managers and product leaders to be able to do. You're going to learn how to create a plan for you and your team to become AI capable and maybe more to the point, AI confident. How to update your way of working. Building AI features is not the same as building non-AI features. So your way of working as a product team needs to adjust and modify. We're going to talk about that as well. And how to stay AI capable going forward. This AI stuff is moving so fast. Every day there's new news. Every day there's new tools. So after this course, I try to set you up so that you can be prepared to sort of stay on top of this, at least somewhat, with a little bit of your time, because you've obviously all got day jobs, even if that day job is looking for a job right now, and I know a lot of you are. But how do you stay AI capable going forward? There's a link to an email template and a Slack template in the FAQs on my course landing page if you want to apply this for reimbursement to your manager. Most of the time, I understand almost 70 to 80% of the time, you'll get an approval. So this will get paid for by your employer. Plus, Maven has a guarantee, and I have a guarantee. If after the first 2 live sessions you're like, Michael, this isn't for me, this isn't what I was expecting, no problem, full refund. And I want to make sure that you're happy. So it's very, very low risk as well. There's the QR code. Last but not least, a little bit about me and why I think I am in a good position to be able to teach this kind of stuff. I went to school. I'm an engineer and a business school student from UCLA. I've worked at a bunch of different big tech companies over my 20+ year career. So unlike some other product coaches and product educators out there, I've had a lot of time and a lot of experience and made some mistakes. Sony, Qualcomm, and others. I teach today strategy to business school students, both undergraduates and graduates. So I'm already doing that on a regular basis. Plus, of course, I've taught a few cohorts on Maven already. And I get the question a lot, why do I even do this? Why do I teach? I do it because I think that product management is the best job in the world. And I love to help people get the most out of being a product manager and a product leader. That's the end of it. It's 8:29, so I managed to bring this under time. There's the code again, a little bit about my consulting firm, Break a Pencil Consulting. Thank you for your time. I'm going to take questions now. I'm going to go through the chat, but if you have a question, by all means, unmute and fire away. All right, let's look through here. What did in the chat? Any questions out there? Don't be shy. Okay, I'm still going through where everyone's from. Okay, got it. All right. This team issue really resonates with my last PO team, driving them to be a high-performing team. God, if somebody would have sat me down when I, was promoted to manage product managers and simply said, Michael, you need to spend a good chunk of your time. Your product is now the team, right? And you're going to need to spend a good chunk of your time understanding your team, understanding where they're good, where they're not good, understanding their concerns, and working with them to make them better on a regular basis. And I would have avoided a lot of mistakes. Looks like some contradictions as well could be detected if all the feedback is in line with our initial assumption that he is not doing well performance-wise. Yeah, so thanks for that comment. I chose to pick a not a really underperforming product manager, but a product manager who has some issues. This works extremely well with underperformers. Hopefully, or maybe some of you are familiar with this idea of PIPs, performance improvement plans. It's corporate speak for how do we take an underperformer and basically document enough that we can manage them out of the organization. But HR professionals will tell you that the real intent of the PIP is to help them become higher performers. And I didn't believe that. And every time in my career that I've been told by an HR professional, I need to put somebody on a PIP, I rolled my eyes and thought, oh God, okay, fine, I'll go through all this effort. But I will tell you, I've done it 4 times in my career, and every single time, all four of the pips, none of them resulted in that person exiting the company. They all resulted in that person becoming happier, more effective, and more productive. So often we find people who aren't productive and maybe they just don't know how or know why. You read my mind, so it's already covered. Should we actually try something different? Give a personality? Awesome, great. I feel for David. Somehow we want David to succeed and do well. Um, this seems a bit reactive on our side that someone else informed us about our team and we did not know about this issue. Is there something we could have done? It's not that necessarily we didn't maybe know about this issue. I agree. I appreciate the comment. I feel like this is stuff that's going on all the time, and oftentimes product leaders. Sorry about that. My boss, my dog wanted to get out. Oftentimes, as product leaders, we're just busy. We're dealing with, managing up. We're dealing with managing around us. We're dealing with strategy and roadmap and putting out fires. And we just don't have the time sometimes. So I think, a good product leader is constantly looking for that insight and feedback about their team and then working to action it. Okay. Could I share some of the highlights of achievements from my earlier course batches? Would love to understand what impact it had. Absolutely, yeah. Um, and then I'll get to the next question after. Yeah, so I mean the best way I can say is if you go to my course page, which is on this QR code, you'll see testimonials, you'll see quotes and feedback from actual students who have taken my course. But what I've heard from them anecdotally is things like, I never realized all the different ways and creative ways I could use AI to help me, be more effective. Or I never thought about the fact that as a product manager or a product leader, not only am I using AI on my work, but how am I using AI in my product? And what do I have to worry about when it comes to things like governance and ethics? And because this is something that we're going to have to deal with, right? And so a lot of different feedback around just sort of, new ways of looking at things. And also a lot of feedback around the cohort itself, right? So I try to make it so that it's not just me teaching, but the cohort itself is together collaborating and learning from each other. So I've gotten some feedback that's been pretty positive. But again, I would encourage you to go and not take it from me, but read what others have written. How to become an AI PM in 3 months. I'm from a design and data science background. Yeah. So that's a longer answer for that question. But there are ways to very quickly, I think, get up to speed on some of the fundamental important skills you have to have as a product manager. And let me be clear, in my opinion, an AI product manager is a product manager. I don't exactly know what the difference is, except for the fact that maybe an AI product manager is working on AI features. But truth be told, every product manager is going to be working on AI features if they aren't already. So um, yeah, it's kind of like saying I don't know, I'm a SaaS PM. Okay, well, I guess. So I think it's a PM. So, but things like these soft skills, things like stakeholder communication, things like really understanding your role as a product manager and that central hub you play with all the different stakeholders, how important it is for you to understand customers and their needs and their pain points and how to do that effectively. So I think there's ways that you can definitely get up to speed on what it takes to be a product manager. Read some of Marty Kagan's books. Those are some of the best ones. His book Inspired is I think it's Inspired. Is that the one? Is I think the sort of basic book every product manager should read early in their career. And then he's also got some great posts. But then from that, I think, hope it's tough to get into the role. So hopefully you have an opportunity to get in that role, maybe where you're currently working to try to do some of that. But if you have more questions about, how do you accelerate and ramp up to become a product manager, reach out to me, please. I'm more than happy to share some more insights and recommendations and places you can go learn. I'll go back to this now. Other questions out there? I'm sorry if I've been talking fast and running through this, but it's my belief that your time is valuable and I want to get to this right away. I don't like boring webinars that spend a lot of time talking and not doing. So if I'm talking too fast, I apologize. Hopefully you're um, able to get something from this. Other questions out there? You're welcome to Texas. Um, Fabulous. Let's see, I can tell you a little bit about it. So yeah, 4 pips. My first one was when I was at T-Mobile. Um, Really, really challenging employee. Um, I needed to just move him out, and HR said, "Nope, you got to do a pip." Okay, and it worked. Again, the process of sitting down with someone, as painful as it is, and talking to them about where they are falling short. Um, and it requires that the person on the other end, on the other side of the table, is open to hearing that. They may get defensive at first, but at least they let it in. And so kudos to the 4 pips that have been successful in my career. The person, all of those people were open and willing. And again, I think it's because most of the time underperformers don't realize it. Um, and they just feel lost. And God, I wish I had more managers. The best managers I've ever had did this well. Unfortunately, there's not a lot of them. And they've all turned, all these 4 examples, 2 of them turned into from underperforming to meeting expectations. 2 of them actually surprised everyone around them and went to a place of sort of exceeding expectations. In fact, another anecdote, one in particular, my boss was basically saying, "You got to get rid of this guy." And I said, "I'm going to take him through a process first. And if at the end of that process we're not where we need to be, I will. But you got to just let me have my time to sort of see if I can make something out of this." And he was like, "No, no, it's not worth it. Just get rid of him, move on. You have too many other things to do. You don't have time for this." And I said, "Well, I'm going to do this." And he turned around, this employee. And my boss came back to me later and was like, "Hey, you were right. Thank you. This is fantastic." So you never know. People are weird, myself included. Any other questions? Okay. If there's no other questions, recording will go out probably later today. I'll include also the prompts. And if you have any other questions that you think of after, by all means, please feel free to reach out to me anytime. Connect with me on LinkedIn. And I look forward to um, seeing you all hopefully on a future lightning lesson or perhaps in one of our cohort classes. Thanks, everyone. Have a great Thursday and great upcoming weekend.